Well, thank you so much for that introduction, Scott. It's really a pleasure to be here. And as you correctly noted, I've been doing this work for a long time. But one of the people who has been doing this kind of work, at least for as long as I have, is unexpectedly in the audience, and that's Mr. LeGros. So I wanted to also join in congratulating him on being here. I have, as you can imagine, a lot of invitations to go around the country and even the world as the person who's been identified, actually in French. It sounded even better when I was in Geneva a year or so ago to give a keynote speech at the University of Geneva's opening public lecture series, and the headline across the banner of the local paper was, "Schwarzenegger sends his right arm to Geneva." So I don't think... He's, the governor's not quite as good shape as he was when he first started this, but he's still a pretty tough guy, and I was thrilled to have that accolade. But being in the climate biz is a good place to be these days. There's no question that there's a lot of excitement around this issue, as there should be, given the impact that it is already beginning to have on our planet. And it's not my task here this morning to talk about that. But I do want to say that the topic that was chosen for this symposium, whenever and however the title was arrived at, could not really be more timely. Federal preemption or state prerogative, California in the face of national climate policy. The issue about what and how the federal government is going to finally move forward into a full-scale program to address climate change has now been put squarely on the table thanks to the election in November. And it's no longer a debate in a vacuum. It's now a topic of very immediate and daily concern to those of us who are actually working in this field. However, as is often the case when presented with a choice like that, federal preemption or state prerogative, my immediate response is, well, actually, it's neither one of those things. The fact is that we believe that successfully addressing this unprecedented global challenge is going to take everybody's best efforts, and it's going to require new models of collaborative federalism unlike anything we've ever seen before. We are only beginning to be able to sketch out what those are going to look like. But I'm going to talk a little bit about why I believe that, because obviously there's also underway now, as we begin to finally move closer in the political arena to some action being taken, perhaps as early as April, we now hear by the Environmental Protection Agency to actually declare carbon dioxide a pollutant of concern and to begin a process which could lead to some pretty significant rulemaking. We're now beginning to see a very strong backlash coming in the media, largely from groups that are associated with industries that stand to be regulated, of course, but nevertheless a strong and thoughtful response from economists, from others who are thinking about how the reductions are actually going to occur, saying that any further efforts by sub-national units and maybe even national governments to directly address carbon dioxide might actually make the problem worse. And this is a topic that we are going to have to be prepared to talk about. It's not new, but it is, it's coming back again. So, of course, as a state person, even though I've been a Fed, and actually I've even worked at the local level on these issues and had an opportunity to see what each branch of government can bring to the table here. But it's it is clear to me, and the reason why I'm back where I am today in a job that I had 30 years ago is because the states have a unique ability to be agile and to be innovative and even aggressive in their efforts to deal with pollution. The success of the federal climate change program is going to be, no matter what, predicated on the ability of the states to go further than national standards, to promote competition among states to outdo each other in areas like energy efficiency, smart and innovative land use planning, and advances in technology, including new and as yet even unimagined green technology businesses. Now, I suppose at a law school it's a de rigueur to quote Louis Brandeis, so I'm going to do it and remind you all that going back to the last really big depression that we had in this country in 1932 was the first important statement of this, what's now, I think, considered to be a truism, that our federal system encourages state innovation. And someone was good enough to go back and actually get the quote for me from New York State Ice Company versus Liebman, where Justice Brandeis wrote, "It is one of the happy incidents of the federal system that a single courageous state may, if its citizens choose, serve as a laboratory and try novel social and economic experiments without risk to the rest of the country." Now, some might argue about whether there's risk to the rest of the country from California and other states' efforts in the area of global climate change, but I think there's been a pretty substantial evidence that the citizens of these states, and of course it's not just California anymore, it's governors of both Democratic and Republican persuasions in states in the Northeast, in the South, and even in the Midwest now joining together and saying, we want to be part of this as well, but we want to do it our own way at the state level. So California, of course, has taken the invitation of Justice Brandeis and its own pioneering spirit and has moved forward over the years in many ways, not only to deal with air pollution, but other social and economic issues as well. Thank you. And I'm very proud that our state is one of those that has also had to take its ability to lead in these areas to the Supreme Court and has had that right to be an innovator in the area of stricter emissions limitations upheld again and again over the years. And the language about working as a laboratory for innovation is one that we take very seriously.